Big F-F-I-I-R-R-E-E, the fire painted to rock your body. Hey, that right there is fire. That's on that Vulgarity 2. That's all over YouTube, the same place I'm at right now, this Urban Politics. You can let your fingers do the walking. Phys Ed, Vulgarity 2. Fire, the F-I-R-E, that's fire. That's got me, Lord Hakeem, Gigs. It's a real hot joint. Love to listen to it when I'm not watching some politics, but that's not what you're here for. That's a hot little joint right there. Oh, that's a fresh jam. But we're not here for that right now. What we're here for is a little politics, because this is Urban Politics, and I'm your humble host, Phys Ed Music. Remember, always, or as always, please go over to YouTube and watch this show and subscribe. If you like it, please tell a friend so they can subscribe. And let's all get together and they can also be a part of this rousing conversation, because politics, especially these days, it's a mile a minute and it's interesting as all get out. With that said, let me jump right into this like a car and drive. I want to start out talking about the GOP. We're talking about, this is in COVID news. Once again, COVID, it's still killing people. So far, 180,000 deaths. I went to my favorite site, my only site for COVID, up to the minute COVID numbers, www.ncov2019.live. That's where you go and get your numbers. And I just got them numbers a little while ago. 180,000 deaths in America. That's a sad thing. It's a scary thing. GOP still pressing for schools to open, probably because the president wants everybody to think everything is all good and it doesn't, there's nothing to be alarmed about or whatever. And he wants to get these economies going back good. But Joe Biden said it best. The way that we get the economy going back the way it needs to go is that we deal with the virus. You can't gloss over it or hope that it's going to go away or whatever Trump is doing. You can't do that. You have to deal with it. You deal with it, then you can move on. But we haven't done that as a country because, the leadership is just not there yet. So there's that. Doctors say the kids get it and they probably won't get sick, but what they do is they go home and they give it to their parents. I've reported here on this show how there have been some cases. There are still some cases going on now where kids have went to school or whatever, contracted it, maybe didn't have any symptoms, maybe did, came home, gave it to parents who died, or gave it to older, grandparents or whatever, and they weren't so lucky or blessed to make it through this thing, to contract it and still live with the virus or live after the virus. So that's sad. These are things we got to be thinking of when they're talking about opening schools. These are things the president should be in the forefront of his mind. Unfortunately, they're not. They say 65 and older with pre-existing conditions are the highest at risk. You've heard this. We've all heard this. It is what it is. But how about this? I'm 40 and some change. I ain't messing around. I ain't no spring. I wouldn't take any chances. You know what I'm saying? I ain't in my 20s. So I'm not a young person or like that. So I just say you need to be vigilant no matter what age you are. Don't be stupid. You know what I'm saying? In pre-existing conditions, hey, I got high blood pressure. That's a pre-existing condition. Some people say being black is a pre-existing condition. So whatever you got going on, you need to be vigilant. You need to take it serious. So there's that. The administration can't ensure the safety of our kids, and they can't ensure the safety of the staff at these schools. They said that's what's going on a lot too. A lot of teachers have gotten sick and died. A lot of administrators, principals, vice principals have gotten sick. That's not good, and the government needs to be able to do that. Right now, they can't do that. Right now, they cannot promise all these people that they could go to a school right now and be safe and not contract the virus or take it home and give it to a loved one. So with that said, how do you go back to school? Anyway, the school that Barron Trump goes to, that school, they're starting with virtual learning first. And then they're going to see how things go, and then maybe they'll move into in-person learning. So that's interesting, isn't it? That they're going to start with virtual learning and then move into in-person learning. But the president wants you to send your kids back to school yesterday, and he wants them in person. But his kid gets to sit at the White House and do it over a computer first so that the school where he goes can see what's going on. See what I'm saying? Come on, man. That's ridiculous. So I would say you need to treat your kids like the president treat his son. You know what I'm saying? So if his son going to sit at home and do some virtual learning because that's what's safest at first, that's what's good for me and mine. If that's good for him and his, good for me and mine. There's that. Moving on. You shouldn't be surprised because the GOP platform has always been against schools and teachers. I've read both platforms. That is the reason why I fall at where I fall at politically. I suggest that to anybody. I've told people that on the show all the time, and actually they're really good reads. Read the Republican platform and then read the Democratic platform. And then read some of these other platforms. The Green Party platform is good. The Libertarian Party platform. Read all those party platforms so you can really see where you fall at on these things. Some of you don't want to be anything. Don't want to take part in it. I feel that too. I understand that. Believe me, I understand what it's like to be up to there with the government, and you don't care anymore. Like I said, I got a good friend of mine. He watches the show. He's a cat. I did an album way back in the day. Did some songs back. He's a good friend of mine. That's my brother from another mother. And he always says to me, he said, Ed, I don't vote, and I ain't voting, because no matter who sits in that White House, nothing's changing in the hood. So why would I vote? And you know what I say to that? You are correct, sir. I have no rebuttal. I laugh to keep from crying. I have no rebuttal. What am I saying to that? He's 150% correct on that. I vote because I do this show and I get into politics, and I feel like I can't critique the government. I can't talk ish about the government if I didn't even at least try to help or try to do something. I say at least I did my part. I voted. I tried to have conversations. I supported my candidate. I did this. I did that. And then I can complain when things don't go my way, which is often. But I want to be able to complain. Here go, I vote, because you can't complain if you didn't even try to help. But I understand people who feel like that. So there's a lot of people who don't want to know anything about these parties or whatever. But please, I would say, do a little research. Like I said, they're actually good reading. And if you read the Republican platform, you'll see that they've been said, education, get rid of that. Get rid of it. They said we've been throwing money in education for years. It hasn't done anything. It hasn't changed anything. It hasn't helped anything. We just need to say forget it. Which is sad to me, because then I'm like, okay, so you're saying forget the kids? Because that's what you're saying when you're saying forget education. You're saying forget the children. Don't educate the children. But then there are people, believe it or not, who like the idea of an uneducated electorate. Because an uneducated electorate is real easy to control. People who are stupid are easy to control. They're easy to control. And what did the president say? I like stupid people. Now some people are like, oh, that video was photoshopped or whatever. Come on, man. It is what it is. And actually them is his people, because he's not a smart man either. But he's smarter than they are. Just a little bit smarter than they are. That control, man. He can control them, And that's what it is. Stupid people are easy to control. So that's something to think about. Bill Gates says that our tests are worthless. That's what he was saying. He said they're worthless. He said we're paying the same for late results as you do for timely ones. What is that about? And people talk about that too. They say that's one thing that's bad about the test. You get the results so late, so a lot of people take these tests and then they go out and they spread the disease or something. I think they're supposed to take the test and then be quarantined, but I think some people have been quarantined and then they've been let go and they still spread it. Some people have taken these tests and the results are all screwed up or whatever. How about this? I knew this for a fact. The young lady that I work with had told me how a friend of hers went to the hospital to take a test, stood in line to get the test, had to go to work, couldn't stand in line anymore, said forget it, and went to work, didn't take the test, got the results from the test in the mail saying that she had it. She never took the test. What? Okay. Then what? Right here, you know what I'm saying, in Ohio, what happened? Our Governor DeWine, he takes the test the day when he's supposed to meet Trump, which is protocol for everybody. They said before you meet the president, got to take that test, make sure that you ain't got it, and give credit to him. So he takes the test, says that he has it. He goes into quarantine or whatever. Then they said the next day he took another test. It said he didn't have it. What's going on here? And that's a problem too. And that's why I said here's something we're going to see coming out on the other end of this thing. A lot of these tests are garbage. There was no regulation on these tests. I had read articles about that months ago where they had said it's the Wild Wild West when it comes to these coronavirus tests. There's no regulation on them. Everybody was scrambling to make them and to create them because they knew there was going to be all types of money in them. And there is, and then there's all types of money in the vaccine too. That's why everybody's scrambling to come up with that because they can't wait to attach a price tag to it. Bernie Sanders has been trying to get people on record as saying that they're not going to gouge the American people when they come up with it. But they're going to. This is America. This is a capitalist society. Money is all. That's a Far Side quote. But that's real. You know what I'm saying? So whoever comes up with that, it's going to be crazy out here. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be charging a mint for it. So that is what it is. And Bill Gates, he of all people would know, and he said the thing is that the administration is scared to call in help to fix this thing because they don't want to admit that they screwed it all up. And Bill Gates was saying this. Bill Gates, he got all the money. He sit up here at the top with these guys too. You know what I'm saying? He sit on high with all these money makers and all that too. He know what's going on, and that's what he said. And I'm not saying that he's no angel. He's implicit in a lot of this madness too. But that's what he was saying. They messed this thing up, and they too proud to just admit they messed it up and get some help. I wish they would though, because boy are they floundering. Anyway, moving on. They were talking about how kids will look back at this as a war. And already we've lost the equivalent of 3 Vietnams. That's how many American people have died. And think about it. This is a war. Our enemy doesn't have a face. It's not a country. It's not carrying a gun or a knife coming at us. But it's very much killing us. You know, this is a faceless enemy. You know, but it's not nameless. We know it by corona. You know, we know about coronavirus, and it's definitely killing people. So it is a war. Kids will look back at this, and this is like a war. It's also like a war because people are kind of oblivious to it. They've gotten it to a point to where they're kind of comfortable with it, kind of bored with it, just like war. We go to wars all the time. And sometimes when we're in a war, other things are going on, and I might even say to somebody, I mean, you know we're at war right now, and they roll their eyes. Yeah, whatever. Always. This is America, right? Of course we're at war. Okay, I feel that. But on the realest level, when we're at war, a lot of us don't feel it. I mean, there's 330 million Americans, and there's 2 million of us in the military, which is a lot. I think that's too many in the military, but whatever. There's 2 million Americans in the 2 million Americans in the military. When we go to war, a lot of us don't feel it. We don't feel it. It wasn't our uncle, wasn't our aunt, wasn't our granddad. Granddad would be too old. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't our family. So a lot of us don't feel it. We might see it on the news. We might know someone at work going through some of it with their family, but 9 times out of 10, we just don't feel it. So, and that's kind of the problem with this corona thing. It's going on. It's killing people out here, but some of us don't know anyone who's had it. Some of us know a couple of people who've had it and got over it. I know a few people who've had it and got over it. I've heard of stories of a few famous people who've had it and got over it. I've heard of some stories of people having it and dying. You know, do I know anyone personally who has died from it? Glory be to God, I can say no. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who would say that too. Glory be to God, I can say no. But see, when that's the case, then it causes people to not take it so serious because it's not at your home yet. You know, and I pray to God it doesn't get to our homes, but that's my point. That's what really makes this like war. You know, because it's not in your face. It's going on. People are dying right now. But you hear about it on the news from time to time. But it is what it is. But people will look back years from now, and that's what they will call this will be a war. They'll talk about the COVID war. You know, how you know what I'm saying, how the COVID epidemic or pandemic was like a war. You know, so remember, if you want to get some information about the numbers, you know, the deaths and the diagnosis and all that stuff, you can always go to www.ncov2019.live. And remember, man, a mask is not a political statement. No matter what they tell you, it's not. You know, and that's ridiculous. It's been politicized. This has been turned into a culture war. You got Mr. President to thank for that. But please, people, that's ridiculous. Get off of that. A mask ain't about nothing but health. Ain't about nothing but looking out for your safety and other people's safety. Trying to keep yourself and other people healthy, that's it. It's not a political statement. Now, some masks you do see that have political statements on them. Black Lives Matter, resist, all of that. Now that actually is a political statement because it's words on a mask. But the mask itself is not a political statement. Moving on. You know what I'm saying? Moving on. All right. Oh, man. And I see now that I got some neighbors want to bump some music. I hope that's not bleeding into this. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to talk about your boy, DeJoy. Yeah, the Postmaster General. DeJoy. This guy is full of the bullcrap. And I hope you're not believing a word that comes out the mouth. Okay? Because he's going to say that all changes at the post office says he's going to hold them until the election is over. That's garbage. I don't believe that. You know what I'm saying? Number one, he's saying all that, but you know what I'm saying? He claims that him and Trump haven't talked about it. And me and Trump haven't even talked about changes going on in the post office. That's garbage. And then they tried to come out and say, well, these changes were supposed to take place a year ago, but they're just going on now. If they're a year late anyway, why wouldn't you just hold them off until after the election anyway? Why now, right by the election? They're already a year late. Be like, we just must do it right now. Come on, man. Garbage. All right. And then you talk about you're going to hold everything. Okay, so he puts all these, up to 700 machines he had took out of post offices, he puts back in. But then he puts out a memo telling the workers to not plug them in. See, they're playing games. They are playing games over there. A lot of these mailboxes are still going. They're still not back where they were. Where they at? He claims he's going to put them all back. Where they at? Put them back. I need to see some stories of them going back. I ain't seen that. See what I'm saying? Democrats, you better be watching. Republicans who care about the sanctity of the vote in this country, you better be paying attention, and you better be watching your boy, because he is a scoundrel, man, and this dude is lawless. Hey, he is a lawless. Back in the day, that's what Lil Wayne used to say about Cash Money. Cash Money is a lawless gang. Trump and them, it's a lawless gang. These Republicans are lawless. They don't give a damn about no constitution or no law. Somebody better do something. You know, I'm telling you. And I tell you, if I could, I would. This is me doing something, saying something about it. Y'all need to stand up and say something about it. Because this is darn ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This guy. And if you sit there and you're stupid enough to believe DeJoy when he says he's not going to make any changes until after the election, you're an idiot. Okay? If you believe that, then I have some swampland in Florida I'd like to sell you. Real cheap. That's stupid. Please don't be dumb enough to believe this guy, man. I don't believe this guy as far as I can throw him, and my hands are all messed up. I ain't good. I can't barely lift nothing. So I couldn't throw this guy very far at all is my point. I don't trust him at all. Not one iota. And like I said, I still need to see some of this stuff. Until I see some of this stuff, see some stories about some of this stuff happening. Talking about inter-office memos at the post office. Talking about not plugging in the machines. That's garbage. And then he's cut back a bunch of hours, so now it's going to be even harder. Even if we can get these mail machines back in there to sort mail, it's still going to be harder because you got less people to go through the mail and give out the mail and put in the mail. Then the machine is sorted. So they're doing all types of little tricks over there, playing all types of little games. Democrats, get on it. Get on it. Republicans who care about the sanctity of the vote, get on it. And I don't want to hear these stories. Let me say, I consume a lot of media. So sometimes, you know what I'm saying, I go over here to Fox News. I go over here to ONN. I watch some of this conservative madness. And they're going to sit over there and try and say, no, the president is trying to protect the vote. He's not trying to steal the vote. He's trying to protect the vote. Who are you lying to? And then I'm like, does some of y'all believe that garbage? You can't believe that garbage. Your party has been trying to steal the vote forever. Your party has been trying to stop people from voting forever. Every election y'all do this. So now all of a sudden this president cares so much about the vote and he just wants to protect the sanctity of the vote, especially when he's poised to lose it if it could go over untainted by a foreign entity or this other crap that he's trying to do with the post office. Get out of here, man. Please don't believe that. DeJoy, y'all need to smack him in the face and make sure that he's not able to mess with the post office, ergo messing with votes. Anyway, moving on. The DNC, they did their thing this past week, Democratic National Convention. It was pretty nice. I liked it. It was done virtual, which I think was great because, they're adhering to what's going on. Like Dr. Fauci and all these other people have said, we don't need to be congregating in buildings. People need to be wearing masks, need to be social distancing. They did all that good stuff there. There were people on video screens. They is even talking about it in the news today about how they pulled it off extremely seamlessly. Really, really, really good the way that they had, the pictures going from screen to screen. And, you got to think of all the tech stuff that was involved in making that come off the way that it did. And it was good. I thought it was really great. It was really great. They were saying that the RNC is probably taking a look at that. But I think a lot of their convention is going to be in person, which is probably not a good idea, but it goes with the president's narrative of everything being fine and everybody should be coming out and congregating again and all that, like there is no coronavirus that's killing people. So they're going to do what they're going to do, whatever. And it's going to be like two different places. I think it's going to end with like a speech on the White House lawn, whatever. It'll be interesting to see the contrast in these two speeches. The DNC, They had everybody there. I mean, it was all-star lineup. Some of the ones that stuck out to me, of course, Barack Hussein Obama. He did his thing. His speech was amazing. It was one for the ages. Barack Obama, never missing a beat. He is a dynamic political player. He is a dynamic political athlete. Always has been. He's very poised with his speeches. His suit was perfect. His tie was perfect. His words were perfect. It was what it was. Quite the statesman. That's Barack Obama, man. He's impressive. He gives a good speech. He's really poised. He really knows how to pick just the right words to say. And him and his wife, because I'm going to talk about her next, Michelle Obama, her speech was amazing as well. Both of them, they are masterful in being able to give it a name. They gave the demon beast a name. They said Trump, but they weren't belittling him. They were just kind of stating things in a matter-of-fact way that were the truth. You know, even though Barack Obama, since he was a president, he is a president critiquing a current president, which is never a good place to be in. But this current president is just so egregious that I think it was extremely appropriate that he critiqued him the way that he did, and I think it was extremely appropriate that he attached his name to it. But he also held the Republicans to task too, which is good too. I do the same on this show. If you notice, when I go in on Trump, I want to go in on Mitch McConnell too. I want to go in on all these Republicans enabling him right now. And I know you've seen some of these commercials, like I've seen them on the internet, of all these Republicans who said all these horrible things about Trump, and then they got in, and then he got in there and they just bent over for him. But it blew me away because Trump had said that. Trump had said all these guys, Lindsey Graham, he named him. He said all these guys talking all this stuff about me. He said when the time comes, they will bow down and they will submit. And he was right. And that was sad. I guess it says a lot about Trump, but it also says a lot about those guys. And I think, you know, the reason why he knew those guys, they're birds of a feather. So he knew it was going to happen as soon as he got power. Anyway, moving on. Yes, Michelle Obama's speech was amazing. Kamala, she accepted the nomination for vice president. Joe Biden, he accepted the nomination for president. Good speeches there too. Joe Biden, people are saying that's the speech of his career. Kamala Harris, her speech was great. She gives good speeches. I cannot wait to see her go against Pence. She gonna give it to Pence. And they were saying that the right is a little annoyed about that. They said that that's come up, people talking about that, because here you got Kamala Harris, you know, an African-American woman who's full of charisma, full of personality, about to go against Mike Pence, a guy who has no charisma and has no personality. If you looked up bland Melba toast, it would have his face in the dictionary. I mean, I don't know if there were ever a whiter, blander, flavorless person on the planet than Mike Pence, but he gets to go up against Kamala Harris. We'll see how that goes. And Biden, that speech, it was really, really good. He was rubbing all the spots. He was saying all the things he needed to say. It was good. It was really, really good. And he's got some challenges. You know, a lot of people are probably thinking this is a coronation, but believe it or not, there's a lot of people who are still not sold on Biden. You know, and that's sad. You know, well, not sad. I mean, that's understandable, because was he my first pick? Nah. But I told you, you know, months ago that he was gonna get it, like he did get it. And there's definitely worse people who I could be voting for. So you can't be mad at that. You know, and he's made some strides. Do he got some things to do? Do he got some things he could do better in? Yeah, and he would admit that. But he got Kamala there. She gonna be helping fill in some of these gaps. So, you know, it is what it is. But with some of those hurdles to jump that he's got to overcome, he did a good job with this speech. Like I said, this speech, it was pushing all the buttons, man. It was rubbing all the right spots. You know, he was talking about coming together as a nation. I like how he talks about what do you say? This election is a fight for the soul of this nation. The soul of this nation. I agree with that, because a lot of people just really want to get back to normalcy. They just want to live in a world where they don't wake up every other day and they're afraid that we're going to nuclear war with somebody, or the president that got into a Twitter war with, you know, a rapper or some actress or something. You know what I mean? They just want a little normalcy out of their government. I'm a guy who loves politics. I can't get enough of it. I'm an information junkie anyway. I love information. I love the news. I love politics. But even I get exhausted with this stuff. Trump is exhausting. You know, every time you turn around, there's a new catastrophe. it came out in the news that yes, there was colluding with Trump, with Russia. That is real. That did happen. Yeah, that went down. But guess what? Who even really covered it or talked about it? Because there's all this other stuff to talk about. And that's the reason why that stuff don't even really get no shine like that. Because the president dominates the news cycle. Look at your timeline. Whose face do you see? All up and down your timeline. Trump, 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 Trump. Maybe that's just me. Because I watch a lot of politics. I'm looking into a lot of politics. But I get sick of that. Every room you go into, people are talking about him. Everywhere you go, people are talking about him. Every comedian you go see has got a bit where they either hate him or hate him. I have yet to see a comedian who loves Trump or had positive things to say about him. But you know what I mean? So it's just ridiculous. So people are dying to get back to that. So that'll probably help Biden. But that was a great speech that he gave. A lot of people say the speech of his career. Yeah, it was up there. It was a really, really good one. It was a really, really good one. Moving on, your boy Stevie Bannon got arrested. Oh, Steve fought the law and the law won. Can you believe that? Steve Bannon arrested. Why was he arrested? Because they got that We Build the Wall fund and they ain't been building nothing. They've been taking that money from people and kicking it. They had said something about the one guy was getting plastic surgery payments, instead of making plastic surgery payments with the money, and had cars and I think a condo or something. I mean, these guys was living it up. They was balling out of control on regular people's money, giving them money for that stupid wall idea. How stupid are Trump supporters? You kept seeing there was no wall being built, but yet some of y'all just kept giving money, thinking that it was going to build a wall that obviously was not being built. You'd see story after story after story about how that wall wasn't being built. You'd see stories about how a stiff wind had blown down 3/4 of one half of one piece of the wall that was up for 20 minutes. You'd see stories about people scaling and climbing over the wall. You'd see countless stories about how a wall doesn't help and won't ever help. You saw countless stories about how people didn't want the wall. Yet you gave money for this wall to be built, and then you're surprised when Mr. Steve Bannon runs off with the money. What do you think this is? These guys are snake oil salesmen. They were talking about all these people in Trump's environment, how they're all criminals or in jail. Yes, they are, because they're criminals, and not even good ones. These guys are bumbling idiots. I'm going to tell you, I got some friends who have done street business since we were kids. If they were half as stupid as any of these guys, they'd never see the light of day. They would have never been out long enough to be the criminals they are, because they wouldn't have had time to do the crime. They'd just been in jail all the time, because these guys are idiots. Steve Bannon, these guys, they're not even smooth criminals. They're not even slick. They're not even smart. They're not clever at all. These guys are really, really, really stupid. And here they are, taking money from the We Build the Wall fund. I mean, come on, at least try to act like you're doing something positive with the money. Try and pretend that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing with the money. Nah, they spending it in all this madness. Then it comes out in the wash, and people surprised. What you surprised at, man? Come on. And then Trump gonna say he didn't know him. You don't know him, really, Trump? Really, Trump? You don't know who Steve Bannon is. He was in the White House because of you. Nobody else would have had him in there. Everybody knew about him and Breitbart and all that little racist stuff that he got into and all that little racist mischief that he peddled. You had him in there, so you don't know him now. It's always like that with Trump, though, ain't it? Soon as somebody get hot, he don't know him. You know, oh, he's in trouble. Oh, he's a pedophile. I never really hung out with him. I don't know him that well. You know, this guy was, he was stealing money from the We Build the Wall fund. The thing that I ran on and was going to become president on, building this wall that never got built. He stole money from that. I never knew him. Really? Really? Oh, there's 30,000 pictures of me with him and his wife and kids. I never knew the man. Ridiculous. Anyway, moving on. Let me wrap it up real quick because I'm running out of time. I wanted to talk about who I call some right-wing haters. Some haters on the right wing. Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, Bill O'Reilly, some right-wing haters. I hate when these guys talk about mainstream or pop culture. They call themselves saying the lyrics and stuff, and they mess up the lyrics. They're really just jealous. I've held forever the belief that Bill O'Reilly, he wants to hump Beyonce, because he can't ever stop talking about her, and he claims that, oh, she's a bad influence on little girls, blah, blah. You don't care nothing about that, Bill. You just salty because you're not Jay-Z and you're not humping her. So go ahead and just say it, man. And they're all like that. And I remember watching Fox News, like I told you I do from time to time, and it was the second inauguration when Obama had won the second time, and Jay-Z and Beyonce were there, and I think Beyonce had sang the national anthem, and she was done with it. She was walking up the steps or whatever. All they could talk about was her in that dress. There were all these political people there, all these dignitaries, heads of state, all that there. They weren't talking about none of them. All these political pundits on Fox could talk about was Beyonce in her dress. Them old white men couldn't take their eyes off of her. So with that said, I understand you're enamored. If you love the music or whatever, respect the culture from afar, but don't be talking smack about it. So they get on my nerves when that Bill O'Reilly, he's went on record as saying that, yeah, that she's a bad role model because of Partition and Drunken Love. Hey, listen, Partition and Drunken Love, in both of those songs, she's having sex with her husband. That's something you're supposed to get into on the right. You know, Bill, you claim that you're a God-fearing Christian. And as a Christian, that means that you respect the family unit, right? Well, she was talking about having relations with her husband that has been sanctified under God. They're married. They have rings to prove it. Everyone knows that they are a married unit. They are one in marriage. So, okay, so why are you mad at her singing about that? Dumb stuff. Ben Shapiro, I don't know if you've heard of this guy before. He's like a young right-wing idiot, a hater. First of all, I call these guys haters, and I get sick of the right wing using our slang all messed up. So let me correct them on this. They go in there and they talk about, we're sick of all these haters with this hate speech. That's not what it means to be a hater. When you're a hater, that means you're jealous of somebody. When you're hating on somebody, you're hating on them because you're jealous of what they're doing. Ergo, you're trying to talk stuff about it to draw attention away from it because you're hating on it. See what I'm saying? So clean that up. I hate when the mainstream takes our slang and screws it all up. That's what it means to be a hater. So these guys, they're right-wing haters because I think they're jealous of Beyonce and Jay-Z. So that's why they sit up there and they were critical of them, talking about how they're a bad influence on children. But there's all these rock stars. Man, there's rock songs where they curse all in the song. There's rock stars songs where they talk about all types of lewd and nasty stuff. And some of those rock songs are my favorite songs. I'm not dissing. I'm saying they exist. And these guys know they exist. They just come after Beyonce because to them, that's an easy target. Because she's a black woman. And she's actually a black woman who I think they want to have sex with. But we never let that come out their mouth. Probably not on their show anyway. Say, Ed, what's up with that? I'm sorry, man. Sometimes I just got to keep it real. Tucker Carlson was talking about WAP. He don't know nothing about that. And please stop repeating their lyrics. You know, I'm sitting there watching Ben Shapiro, and he gonna talk about this is what they're saying is good music. He said, fast like a Lambo, skirt, skirt, skirt. No, Ben, you bland vanilla idiot. It ain't skirt, skirt, skirt. It's skirt, skirt, skirt. Fast like a Lambo, skirt, skirt, skirt. See, but you don't have any soul, so you wouldn't read that like that. So please, stop disrespecting the art form. Stop disrespecting my people by saying our lyrics in that weird, white bread, dried out voice of yours. I say that to all these dudes. Cut it out. Cut it out. So there's that. Last note that I leave you with, because we're definitely at the end of our time. The RNC, their convention is next week. The clown show. He said, yeah, you a hater. The clown show starts